Hello and welcome to the Magical Midlife Podcast, where you get a refreshing, uplifting and optimistic perspective on life in your 40s and 50s. I'm your host, Lindsay de Swart, and I'm delighted that you've joined us here today, so let's jump right in. Well, hello and welcome back to the Magical Midlife. This is Lindsay here. It's fantastic to see you again. Thank you for tuning back in with me. Now, today I am so delighted because I have a lovely guest with me, and her name is Petra Carroll. And Petra is the owner of Petra Carroll Hair, which is a very successful hair salon in Ireland. And you can Google it and it gets lots of great reviews, which is awesome. But also, Petra is an energy medicine practitioner and a shamanic coach, which is obviously how our paths have crossed. So I'd love to welcome you today. Petra, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for sharing your time with us. So, Petra, I'm going to ask a few questions about you because you've had such an interesting journey and a path.
Okay. Well, my name is Petra Carroll and I am 52 years young. I've lived in Armagh most of my life, all of my life, in fact, bar a little time that we left and moved a short distance away. I'm married with 3 kids and I have 2 beautiful dogs who I adore and 2 tortoises. That's here to teach me to be slow.
I was going to say, what are the tortoises' names?
Keelan and Hermie.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Excellent. So they're your spirit tortoises, are they, to teach you a lesson?
They're here to teach me to be, you don't have to be running at 100 miles an hour to win the race. You can do it slowly, calmly, and enjoy the pace.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I shall see tortoises in a different light now, whenever I see them. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about the business that you built up over so many years. Tell us about that, because of course you're growing in so many ways right now, but today, where you are today is not where you've always been, is it?
No. My business, I worked with a local salon in Armagh called Brian Martin's, and he was probably a big break for me. He was from Banbridge and he opened a salon in Armagh, and it was different from what Armagh would normally have been like. He brought a bit of class to the town, proper training, and I was so lucky to get employed by Brian and worked there for 7 great years. Had a brilliant time with him and his wife, fantastic people, and then decided to go out on my own and done that, totally retrained again in my hairdressing career, outlook, skills, everything. Went to London, done courses, and then done a course that was one of the first ones to do a colour degree. And it's very scientifically about the knowledge of the hair, the chemical breakdown of the hair, everything you need to do and know about hair so you can colour it confidently. And that again, after that, my business just took off. I couldn't control it. It was like, wow, everyone, word of mouth, small town and everything else. So there's, plenty of bums on seats sort of thing. And worked away there, had 2 kids in the meantime, running, working 5 days a week, maybe 9 to 6, 3 of them days, and 9 to 9, 2 of them days. So it was full on. Yeah. Worked up to the day both my first 2 older kids were born, left and had them end up with sections and back to work within a fortnight. Absolutely madness when I think back. But that was the energy that it was driving me at the time. And became very, very successful, very blessed with great staff and great local support. And the business just grew. My staff that I had then, I still have, and we evolved together. They grew up with me And
Wow.
we've had young ones coming on, trained them. The business has expanded to, sometimes it was 14, now at the moment we've 12. Everyone's having leaving and having babies and stuff. But, always finished off in good terms with everyone, and trained them to a very, very high standard. It just worked out really well, but it was very fast. It was very full on. And I had very little time for me and my husband and my two oldest kids, which I had great regrets over.
So how old were you when you opened the salon on your own? When you went
I was 27, yeah.
Okay, and so you've built it up over the years to what it is today. And so you said that you've got the regrets about not spending enough time with your husband and with your two older kids.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty tough because...
Yeah, go on.
They were, I had one day off in a week, and my day off I had to go and get stock for the salon. I had business appointments to fulfill, like accountants and meeting in the bank and stuff like that. And so they were crammed into what I was doing, what my day off was. And I honestly couldn't tell you what their favourite program was, what their favourite cartoon was, anything like that. My aunt looked after them, so I was very blessed to have her on board. So she was like an extended mummy sort of thing. And she would have knew more about them than I did. But I did smother them in long holidays. Whenever we were off, we were always together as a family.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, did they ever talk about that, about those times?
They didn't know any different, and they don't seem to mind. That they're both very successful in what they're doing. They're both on their own journeys now, and their own. One of them's both of them are at university, but they both seem to really know what they want to do, and it did help them to always maybe be clear about what they want and what they don't want, and they don't have any hang-ups about it, because I've spoken to them about that. I feel it, I feel it in my heart, because I don't, even though I was there, I didn't absorb it, I didn't experience it, I didn't feel it. I was just there in body. They would see me in the evenings when I was so tired and exhausted. On my days off, it was like recharging my batteries, and I was so focused in running the business. I was running on a masculine energy, major masculine energy, and it was so driven, and everyone just had to slot in, and I thought this was normal. I thought I was living a normal life.
The funny thing is, though, Petra, you probably were living a normal life of a successful person.
Yeah, but I see things completely different now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyone successful, it comes at a great price, and there's usually an underlying driven energy that makes them do what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it's interesting because you say now that your two older kids have got a focus and they know where they're going and they know what they want to do. They probably learned that because that's what you want.
Yeah. But I would always say to them, make their decisions in life on their own happiness, not on their ego. Don't let their ego drive them. It's okay to be successful, but know your limits. I stood in that salon cutting hair. I had a miscarriage. I finished the haircut. Crazy things like that. Yeah, that you just don't do, because I was that much in my head. Yeah. I controlled my body. I made my body do what my head seemed fit to do. And I wouldn't even allow my body the peace and quiet to let go of something, crazy things like that. I wouldn't want that for my kids. They need to know the boundaries. They need to be in connection with their body and their soul, and work together, not separately, and then be successful. That's the secret.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, the thing is, that's such an enlightened perspective. And you and I both know how hard it's been over this, through the COVID time when we've done this training together.
And so much.
Yeah, so much work and so much inner work. So the perspective you've got now is very different. But it's difficult to say, but do you think that what you achieved in your business, if you'd had this more enlightened perspective, do you think you'd have achieved the same thing? And I mean, that's guesswork, so I don't know.
No, definitely not. There's no way I would have. I wouldn't have driven myself as hard as I did physically. One of the reasons why I am the way I am now and went on the spiritual journey is because I physically couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. And I had to admit that. And once I admitted that to myself, I started to go inwardly. Mm-hmm. I had to slow down to listen to my soul. I never would listen before.
No, absolutely.
So physically, if I still had the energy that I had 20 years ago, I probably would never have done that course. I know I wouldn't have done the course because I didn't slow down enough to allow my soul to speak. Oh, it has been speaking, to allow me to hear what it's saying.
Yeah. And don't you think that's one of the joys of being where we are in life now?
Oh, so much so. This is that it's going to be the best years for me as a living soul. You know, I'm so excited about the future. I've never been as happy. COVID has been pretty tough for a lot of people, but for me personally, it has been groundbreaking. It gave me the opportunity to actually stop, come out of my head and take time to go within and to really connect with me, Petra, the human, not, the mother, the wife, the business, the boss, all these different things, shamanic coach or whatever. It's given me time to call it. Just, connect with me.
Now I remember,
and fall in love with me again. Fall in love with
Petra,
me.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I remember one of the times one conversation we had, and you talked about how your work now, your shamanic work and your shamanic training, and this sort of awakening and healing, and how it's affecting actually the girls that work in the salon with you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So tell us about that, because for me that is just pure, beautiful feminine leadership in such a positive and healthy way.
Yeah. Well, I've always had a wonderful relationship with my staff, and in a funny sort of way, I see them all nearly as family. I would get really close with them, and we all get part of one another's lives, and we've helped each other through some awful times. So by me becoming more interested, and they've seen the change in me. My goodness, they've seen the change,
really?
know. And oh God, yeah. And I have more empathy for different situations now, where I can always thought, you just dust yourself down and you just get back up there. But it's not for everyone. That doesn't, there's a reason why things happen. You have to listen to why these things come up and hit you in the face, so to speak. And sometimes you're not meant to dust yourself back down and get back up. You're meant to actually sit down and listen to what you've been told and why these things are happening to you. And once you've done that, then you can get back up again and then take a different direction. And for years, I wasn't doing that. And so they've seen the change. And then because of that, they're changing. And they're becoming interested. I'm telling them wee things about what I've learned, showing them a different opinion on things. And, they're breaking out of their own shell, so to speak, and seeing things differently. And, sometimes, you might lose staff because they might realise, this isn't for me. I've been doing this so long now, and I want to try something different. And that's fine. That's wonderful, because I have the confidence now that I can do it, they can do it. And not everyone has to be on the same road for their whole entire journey. It's knowledge is power, so to speak. Experiences is even more so. So,
Yeah.
and experience gives you a taste for life. But if you keep eating and tasting the same old, you become bored, fed up, heavy, dull.
Yeah.
So we need to get out there and we need to try things differently. And that's, the staff is definitely seeing things from another perspective.
Well, I mean, we could end there because that's just pure wisdom. Thank you. But I'm not going to end there. No, I don't let you off the hook that lightly. So is there anything, because obviously you're living life differently now. So what does your schedule look like now that you're falling back in love with yourself and you're not pushing yourself with determination, to the ends of the earth?
Okay. Well, the first biggest thing was cutting down my days. I went down to a 3-day a week after lockdown. Mm-hmm. And after Christmas, I'm cutting down another day to make more room for my energy work. I'm going to go down to 2 days a week. So what am I doing differently now? Well, first of all, Eileen McCourt, she would be a Reiki teacher in Ireland. She was maybe the first person that introduced me to a new way of life she writes a lot of books, and I read a lot of her books. And then Cissy Williams, she has just blew the lid completely off it. And so what I've learned through the course by Cissy is just by shedding all my own past hang-ups and everything, it's allowed me to bust through that structure, that tunnel that I had built around me of such a rigid tunnel that I couldn't turn left or right. You went to work, you done everything you had to do within your day, you went to bed. If you're going to change another direction, you had to plan it way ahead of yourself. I've got rid of all of that. I've allowed myself to be more flexible, and just by having days off to do the things that I love doing with my family, with my husband, with my dogs. It's a very simple life, and just living a very, very simple life. And I've moved to Navan Fort out beside it, and it has just been, the energy in the Navan Fort has allowed me to ground myself. For the first time in my life, I don't want to get up and run out the door and jump in the car and do something. I am happy to just be still. So it allows me to ground myself. It's been such a blessing in so many ways. And that's it. Walking the dogs. Been here for my youngest coming in from school, or even picking them up from school, doing things I never got doing with my first two kids. And been here for my husband, and just being here for me and discovering who I am, having time to meditate, time to do journeying, time to heal, allowing myself time to heal, and understanding why I was the way I was, and seeing that it no longer is me and it no longer exists, and living in the moment so you can really savor what each day and see the beauty in things that you normally wouldn't see. You see in the colours in the trees, the flowers in your garden, smelling the manure in the field when you're out walking.
Lovely. Like, and actually noticing what's around you, which, as you say, I mean, when you were really in your busy time of life and driven and, obviously building a successful business, but did you ever give yourself time just to go out for a walk?
No, God, no. Never. I would have drove everywhere. There's no way you'd have got me walking. No, I was always too much in a hurry for starters. Getting there quick was the answer. Yeah.
So is there anything that you miss about that part of life? Because I one of the questions I often ask is there anything you miss from your chapter 1 life? So chapter 1 life is that time when you were, just living in a different mindset, and it is a different phase in your life. I mean, we talk about the shamanic medicine wheel, and that certainly for me, and I've talked about it quite a lot, is it really introduced me to that there is different seasons of everything and how you can move through the different seasons. And certainly, I mean, that's what when I look at the midlife years, it means that we're in a different season.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
So true.
So when you were sort of, so busy and building, that's a different season than you're in now.
Mm-hmm. I much prefer the season I'm in now. And I don't thinking, if there's anything I miss from the last season, off the top of my head would be probably having the energy, because I don't have the same energy. But then if I really look into that, if I had the energy, knowing me, I wouldn't be sitting still. I wouldn't be embracing myself and my new journey. I would be too busy trying to do everything at once. So I'm a much better mother now, and a much better friend, and a hell of a much better wife. I'm more contented and more peaceful. I was always planning. I was always thriving. I was always looking for something different to do in the business. And everybody and everything had to fit around that, had to fit into that. And some of them went in at a force, and some of them just slipped in. And it was a struggle to be carrying that. But no, I don't miss that. I really, really don't miss that at all. No. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So what are do you still have future? I don't know if you can even say this actually on the interview. I was going to say, what are your sort of future plans for the salon? Are you just going to keep managing that? Is it something you still enjoy?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to continue working there 2 days a week. I'm very, very blessed to have my niece working alongside of me, and another little member of staff. She's an amazing young girl. So what I've done is delegated responsibility in different areas. I'm still doing the training. I'll still be training the staff.
Yeah.
The cuts and stuff, and a bit of what I do, my spiritual journey and what I've learned. Are always, be writing that off in conversations as well. And so they're learning on both aspects, the skills and just different ideas about how to see things, the NLP and stuff like that.
Very cool.
So no, I'm not hanging up my scissors by any means.
Is that what hairdressers say when they retire? I'm hanging up my scissors.
Yeah. I don't want to plan, because that's too much getting into the controlling aspect of my personality, who I've tried to let go of.
Yeah.
So what I'm allowing myself to be guided. So at the moment, the plan is, if I can use that term, I'm cutting down to 2 days a week. I've delegated the responsibility of a lot of areas in the business to different people, and which will allow me the time that I need to make a new experience, to expand more in my energy medicine, and to start helping others, maybe in a more, it doesn't even have to be local field, just a broader field of, and allowing that time in the week to allow Spirit to bring through who he thinks that I could maybe help on their journey.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
I'm just making the room for that. Further down the line, the business, who's to say?
Fair enough. So I love the fact that you just said, I've got to make room for that. Because on a very practical level, people say, well, I want something new, or I want to change something. But as you just said, unless you've got the space for that to happen, it just comes in as more. And when it just comes in as more and more, that's just more stress. So you don't even have the time or the awareness to enjoy the new experience.
So true. And there's also another way of looking at that. And I'm just at that stage that I'm very blessed that I can do that. I have the staff and the support and the setup of people that I need around me to allow me to do that. Some people mightn't be in that position, so it'll be harder for them to do.
Yeah.
So if someone finds themselves in that position, the question they need to ask is, by letting go of one thing and then trusting in another is very, very scary.
It is, you're right.
What I done and what I had been doing since I started my journey with the medicine wheel was I put it out to Spirit, constantly said, Spirit, surround me with the people I need in order for me to be able to let go more. And I do believe that's what's happened. I started to see things differently. I started to see the potential in different members of staff that I had. I've had quiet conversations with each one to find out what they wanted, where they seen themselves. And then, I allowed them to expand, offered them different ideas in their working day, how they could change what they're doing in one thing, maybe come off the floor and start managing a bit more. And and I would never have seen that. I was the type of person that I thought, unless I do it myself, it's not going to be done. And it's not going to be done right.
Yeah,
and
that perfectionism.
Yeah. But and in a sense, you keep the other ones in a more kind of restricted room. When you bust down them doors and allow them to spread their wings, sort of thing, and they love it then. They're, because they've become fed up and complacent doing the same old. So you're giving them something different to get their teeth into. And then, they're loving their job more and they're loving you more because they're finding out things about themselves that they maybe wouldn't have found out otherwise if you hadn't had the faith in them to allow them to do that. So, and that's just how I done it. That's as simple as that. I asked Spirit to surround me with the people I needed in my life to allow me to let go of the structure that I had made so that I could be of service to him in a more spiritual way.
Yeah.
Lovely. And that's how it just, and it just kind of happened wee bit by, just by bit, and wee ideas would come into my head or somebody would just pop in and
it's trusting in those synchronicities too, isn't it? Because people do really just show up.
Yeah. And some of them are there, but you haven't taken the blinkers off because you haven't asked for that support. You haven't asked for that guidance. You just need to ask. You really, really just need to ask, whether it's your angels or spirit or universe, whatever appeals to you. If you ask for the support and the guidance, they will come. They will, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've also got to allow yourself the space and the quiet, actually, so that you can listen and receive that guidance. Those. So how does that guidance come into you? Is it a feeling? Is it a voice? Is it, a sort of a piece of paper flying under your nose? What is it for you?
It's like a rush of love that comes up from my heart, up through my throat, and comes out in my mouth. And it might come to me. Honestly, that's how it works. It might come. I could be with someone and having a conversation with them, and then an idea will just pop into my head, and I'll get a rush of excitement from my heart chakra. And before I know it, it's out in my mouth, and I'm saying, have you ever thought of this? And what, would you like to do that? And that's it. I'm just talking, for example, with staff and stuff, personal, business maybe, or even with the kids, it comes as quick as that.
Oh, that's so funny. And how do your staff respond?
They're
getting used to it now.
They seem to respond okay. I don't know. I never asked them.
That's so funny. I've just got visions of you having a conversation and like this wave of energy going through you and like the look of surprise on your face and the look of surprise on their face of whatever you've just said to them that they didn't expect you to say.
Sometimes they just laugh at me, like this idea. I decided I was going to close Mondays in the salon and after Christmas, and this was going to solve, having staff on the floor for a Monday. I was just going to close a Monday, congest what we do have from a Tuesday onwards, and that will give me my extra day off and so on. So there, when I suggested this, they kind of laughed and rolled their eyes as if to say, here she goes again. Here she goes again, another one of these great ideas. So
fantastic. But isn't that the leadership role that you've stepped into?
Yeah. I know I would never have felt that I was a great, I never had a business plan, Lindsay. I just always went on what felt good with it. I always said I had a great gut instinct, but now in my spiritual journey, I know that's it's a whole different thing. You've been guided.
Yeah.
And there's times people say, why don't you do this and do that? And I just wouldn't do it because it didn't sit well with me. I didn't know why. And later on down the line, I would have heard different things happen and think, God, wasn't I glad I didn't do that? I've always been very, very well guided. I've always had a very tight spiritual family around me, constantly guiding me. Even as a child, I always walked the fields with my dogs, and I was aware of the dogs was there, but I was always aware of something else been there, something bigger than me. I always felt a presence. And now I know that, it's your spiritual family, it's your guardian angel, it changes and evolves different stages of your life, who will be around you at different times. So I've been very, very blessed, very blessed.
Very blessed. So as a successful entrepreneur, what would your advice be? Because everybody talks about menopause and, all the rest of it, the blah blahs about midlife. And yes, fine, it's all important, but it's not what it's all about. Because I certainly am really learning from everybody that I'm talking to on the podcast, and obviously living it myself, that you open up to a new phase of your life. So if you had some advice for other women who've been successful in their careers and are maybe getting to this stage where they're noticing their energies changing and they're noticing that something is changing, but they don't quite know, what on earth's going on. What advice would you give to them to be able to make a sort of a peaceful transition? It sounds like they're dying. I don't mean that. A peaceful transition into a more peaceful kind of self-loving way of being.
Yeah, well, definitely that's something that I have experienced and have been experiencing as the menopause. My advice to anyone that's really, really driven and they're finding that their energy is not the same, and they have the symptoms of the menopause and the ups and downs of that, is that's your body communicating with you. So if you're driving it too hard, you have to come out of your head and into your heart. You have to connect with your body and listen to what it's telling you. Stop forcing it to get up early in the morning, catch the trains, do the day's work that you used to do. Listen to it and make the changes in your life that you need to do in order to feel good about yourself, to feel in love with yourself. Fall back in love with you. You are different now. You're not the mother and you're not going through the stage of childbearing years. And at this stage, hopefully, your kids are grown up. To rediscover, it's nature's way of telling you to rediscover yourself. Come within.
Yeah.
Leave your head alone. Connect with your heart. fall in love with yourself, spend time with yourself, enjoy yourself, enjoy your quirky ways, enjoy your faults and your differences, and just be with yourself for a wee bit more time instead of forcing it to be in the outside world. This is the time for going within, rediscovering, and then rebirthing.
Beautiful.
You're coming into something new, and this will be the best years because you are whole, you're complete, you're working through your heart, not your head. You're working with yourself, not your targets. It is a wonderful stage to be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Petra. That's so beautiful. And for me being for me being here early in the morning, anybody who I get to speak with and get to interview, who's obviously on British time, and with me being in Toronto time, it means that you've given me the start to my day, which will just fuel me with so much goodness. And I'm hoping that anybody else who listens to this will just tune into that beautiful advice that you've just given. Because it just delivered in such a beautiful way. And I hope that people give themselves time to actually receive that.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, I hope it does, because it's all free. You don't have to pay for it. You find it all within yourself.
Yeah, it's all free.
That's what I've discovered.
Yeah, it's free and it's there for you. It's always been there for you.
Yeah, doesn't matter how many facials you got, or many root colours you got, or many times you got your nails done. You know, the best experience I've had was going within.
Oh, that's so awesome. Very, very cool. Right. Okay. Well, that feels like a perfect note to end on. But Petra, if people want to connect with you on Facebook, or they want to find out more about your salon, if they're local, how can they find you?
Well, the business salon page is on Instagram and on Facebook, and it's Petra Carroll Hair. And if you want to contact me with the energy medicine and coaching, it just through my Facebook, which would be Petra Carroll. Awesome. Then I'd know it'd be a bit more, shamanic energy and stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. Okie dokes. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, Petra, and thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Oh, thank you. I've enjoyed it so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed the conversation, please come and leave a review. If you go to the Apple Podcasts app and scroll down to the bottom of the podcast page, and then you'll find the ratings and review section. Please invite your friends to come and listen by sharing the link. And you can join the conversation and let me know who you'd like to hear interviewed and what topics you'd like discussed over at Facebook on the Magical Midlife group. You can also find me on Instagram at Lindsay de Swart, where the conversation will also continue. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. And once again, keep living your magical midlife.